List prices in San Diego jumped $25,000 this week, a phenomenon that mirrors what's happening up in Los Angeles. Are there some San Diego home sellers who think they can take advantage of the LA fires and drive up their home prices? If so, they've got another thing coming to them according to the rest of the data, which is what we're looking at in today's San Diego real estate update for January 30th, 2025. I'm Jon Schwartz, California's 1% homebuyer agent. Last year, I saved my clients $180,000 in realtor fees. This year, I'm saving my clients $1 million in realtor fees. Learn how you can be a part of that and schedule time to chat at jonsch.com. That's jonsch.com. Now let's get into this week's data. And we're looking at the most recent weekly data from Redfin for the San Diego metro market. This week, our median sale price is $893,000. Now, you'll notice that median sale price has grown for 3 straight weeks. That's unusual for January. We usually see a dipping or at least some inconsistency until prices typically bottom out in February. Are we already seeing an extremely early start to the spring housing season? Oh, maybe. Now we're looking at the new listing median price. This is the median price that a newly listed home is coming to market in San Diego. And as you can see, holy crap, we had a real big upshot this week to $922,000. That's a $25,000 jump over last week. Why the sudden jump in list prices? Well, prices have been growing in San Diego, so it could just be a reflection that we have a very strong market this January. It's also possible that some San Diego homeowners or agents are looking up at what's happening in Los Angeles and thinking, hey, maybe there's going to be some extra home buyers. Maybe some of those Angelinos are going to want to come down to the relative safety of San Diego. And in response to that expected demand, some sellers have jacked up their prices. If that's the case, well, those sellers might be disappointed. Looking at other metrics, we see that prices in San Diego are not about to climb. For starters, new listings also shot up in San Diego. And that's pretty standard for this time of year. This week, we saw 425 new listings on the San Diego market. What's nice is that last week, we were down 1% from the same week a year ago. This week, we're up 2.4% from the same week a year ago. So if new listings continue to overtake last year, that's going to keep more inventory on the market. It's going to keep downward pressure on prices. Now looking at homes sold, this is how homes exit the market, falling off as is typical for this time of year, and it's actually keeping its margin over last year. This week we had 350 home sales. That's a 15.2% growth over last year. The week before we had 15.9%, and the week before that we were at 17.9%. So slightly contracting relative to last year, but with home sales still outpacing last year by double digits, it's not a shocker that prices have been growing this January. However, when we look at pending sales, which we know is a leading indicator for homes sold, we see troubled waters ahead. This week, 313 homes were sold on the San Diego market. That's down 14.7% from the same week last year. We started the year outpacing last year by 0.3%. Then we fell behind last year by 8.8%, and now we're behind last year by 14.7%. So even though homes sold are double digits north of last year's numbers, pending sales are double digits south of last year's numbers, meaning we should see homes sold sharply correct in the next month, which again will mean more inventory staying on the market, which again means downward pressure on pricing. Now we're looking at active listings. Active listings is declining in absolute numbers, and that's what we expect to see this time of year. However, you can see that last year, the orange line, we had an unusual uptick of new listings in February. For that reason, active listings this year is contracting relative to last year. So we started the year 28% over last year's numbers, then fell to 24%, and now we're just 20% over last year's numbers with 3,984 active listings on the San Diego market. However, if new listings continues to grow and homes sold continues to contract, we should see active listings begin to grow again relative to last year, and growth from a 20% head start is pretty impressive. TLDR, downward pressure on pricing. Weeks of supply jumped this week. Last week we were at 11.1 weeks of supply. Now we're at 11.9 weeks of supply. Of course, growing supply suggests downward pressure on pricing. What's interesting is that the last 3 years, we've had a relatively consistent sharp upturn right around this time of year. So maybe what we're seeing is just really typical yet idiosyncratic January behavior for the San Diego market. Median days on market continues to climb. We're now at 39.1 days for a median property to be sold. We're getting pretty close to the post-pandemic peak of 40.7 days that we hit at the beginning of 2023. As I've mentioned, this was just after rates doubled from 3.5% to 7%. And with the market being this slow, you can expect prices to cool off despite January's consistent price growth. So keep that in mind if you're planning to buy a home in San Diego in 2025. Also keep in mind my 2025 California Homebuyers Guide updated with the latest conforming loan limits, the latest agency rules about how you're supposed to work with agents this year, and the latest state regulations surrounding homeowners insurance. If you're planning to buy a home in San Diego in 2025, check it out.